What's up, everybody? Matt Kajeski here, back again with the Odd Shopper channel. And today I am here to continue the college football preview series with the Georgia Bulldogs. We'll talk odds, their roster, and some bets at the end of the video. Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. We are also brought to you today by BetMGM, and they have a phenomenal offer for you guys. You can get up to a $1,000 risk-free bet with your first deposit with BetMGM. All you have to do is click the link in the video description below or use the promo code OSCFB to take advantage of that offer and get your first risk-free bet. All right, diving into the Georgia Bulldogs, this is a really interesting conference to talk about. It's kind of a two-horse race, at least in terms of betting odds. You have Alabama minus 145 to win the SEC. Georgia sits at plus 155, and then you have a drastic drop. You go all the way to plus 1,800 for Texas A&M. So with Georgia, they are a little bit difficult to bet considering all the roster turnover, and I think we should get into that right now before we talk win totals and odds to win the SEC. Georgia is going through a bit of a rebuild here. It's kind of a soft rebuild because they're recruiting at such a high level, and we know they're coming off the national championship win. They retain their OC, Todd Monken, who I think is a solid piece here for this team. And last year's team was fourth in offensive efficiency per PFF, and they were first in defensive efficiency. Now you're replacing 5 first-round picks on your defense. You're replacing some starters in offense. They lose Amir White. They lose James Cook, George Pickens, who didn't really play that much last year, Jermaine Burton. A lot of players depart. But what you do have is your starting quarterback coming back. Stetson Bennett is there. He was the 8th highest graded quarterback in the SEC last year in terms of passing, 7th overall when you factor in his mobility, and he did run for 259 yards. So that is something he has in his skill set. They also bring back a couple running backs with experience, Kenny McIntosh, Kendall Milton. So even though they lose Cook and White, you do have some experience there. And while your receiver room might not be as deep as some people think, you have a great tight end room highlighted by Brock Bowers. Not to mention you have Darnell Washington, who's this big 6'7" behemoth and a phenomenal blocker, but he's a plus receiver too. He actually was above average in terms of yards per route run. And now you're adding Eric Gilbert to the equation, the LSU transfer who profiles as a big receiver. You can play him in the slot. You can play him out wide. And he actually is not too bad of a blocker either. So you have 3 tight ends immediately at your disposal. Then you're getting back players like Dominic Blaylock, who missed most of the year with an ACL. Ladd McConkey stepped up and had to play a lot for this team. Karis Jackson's still there. And your offensive line returns 4 players with significant starting experience, all of whom actually graded out pretty well based on Pro Football Focus. So what happens with the defense? You only return 3 starters. And again, 5 of the players you lost were first-round picks. So first and foremost, this is going to be a situation that takes time to coalesce. You do have an unbelievable amount of 4 and 5 stars. I won't name them all just because we're talking about literally 15, 16 4 and 5 stars on your defense. And you do have some players with experience. On your defensive line, a guy like Jalen Carter can finally be unleashed after he was playing alongside the defensive lineman they had last year that went in the first round. You have like Keely Ringo back. He was a high-profile player last year for this team. Could have went anywhere in the country. Nolan Smith is a guy with playing time. So they're not completely rebuilding from the ground up. Yes, it's probably not going to be the Georgia defense of last year, but they're still going to be an elite program on their defensive side of the ball, and it might just take a little bit of time to gel. When you look at their schedule, I think they are going to have a tough game right away at Oregon. They're still pretty significant favorites there. But then you get a little tune-up game against Samford. You get South Carolina, Kent State, Missouri. It's not until you really play Auburn, and then you play Vandy, Florida, Tennessee. The second half of their schedule is much more difficult, in my opinion, but that's not actually, I think, a negative for this team. Ideally, you want some time for your defense to coalesce and then be playing at a high level towards the end of the year. So if they can get away from Oregon, again, that's a non-con game. It's in a neutral location. They're playing at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Then you go to Samford. If you handle business at South Carolina, you get a couple easier games after that, and that should benefit Georgia. But can we do anything actionable with this? You look at their win total, it's sitting pretty hefty. It's 10.5, but the over's minus 240. That's because they're going to be a favorite in every single game if the season started today, assuming they retain a healthy roster. They're not crossing over against Alabama. In fact, they're crossing over against Mississippi State and Auburn, which is favorable. Non-con, not too difficult. Again, you have Oregon, you have Kent State, and you have Georgia Tech. These are teams I think that they can actually handle for the most part. Toughest game coming against Oregon. So to me, if you are betting this, it is towards the over. But again, you're laying pretty significant juice at minus 240 there. I think the better bet is just Georgia probably to win the SEC. Likely going to come down to a game against Alabama or Texas A&M, whoever comes out of that side. But then you're getting plus 155 in the game. Again, don't love the bets with Georgia, but if you are making a play on this, I think just taking them to win the SEC at plus 155 makes the most sense. But that'll do it for us today. Let me know what you think about the Georgia Bulldogs roster coming off the national championship. I am optimistic, but I would love to hear what you all think, and I will make sure to get back to you in the comment section. My name is Matt Gajeski. I'm on Twitter at Matt_Gajeski. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you again next time.